In this video, I will explain how to configure Makefile and debug in Visual Studio Code. If you have more than one main function, this is a very simple example. I have a main program and then I have a car class defined here, CPP here, and the Makefile is like this. So this is for Windows. So Makefile is a.exe, and then this is the typical setup. I have only one main function and the like. So here's launch.json. It's debug is configured for that. Then we can run it after compiling the program. Make which is already done. So if I delete and then compile it, it's ready to use the debug. Also in main program, set the breakpoint here and launch it. Then I can step over or step into and I can use debug. Now I have another main function just for testing purpose or for just additional work. So this is the intended to be main, but I want to test the car class more in some other way without changing the main program developed so far. Then you may want to create another main and test.cpp. There I'm going to have a main function. So there I'm going to create a car with some other test strategy and the like. So I need to include car class definition. Then you could compile from the terminal for this test.cpp with a car and then just test it. But then the debug set for this project is not working. I mean, for the test program, the debug is not working. The launch.json is configured for original main only. Then how do we handle this one? And ideally, you could just separate into two completely different project folder. Then it's okay. But and sometimes we need something like this situation. We are going to use many of the files already developed. I don't want to copy everything. Then you need to do two things. In Makefile, you need to produce a separate execute file for each main function. So original main, let's name it as m.exe instead of a default name. Then when you put them together with the G++, there's a -o option. Then specify the output of the resulting executable code by -o option. You can change the name there. And then give the rules for the new code. So new code test.cpp we need to create. So test.o and test.cpp is compiled separately with a car class included. So the rule is -g -c compile only cpp. Then I need to put together test.o with a car.o to produce executable code. So for that, the ultimate executable code, I need to give a different name. Let's give as a t.exe is the test code executable, which is merging test.o and the car.o together to produce a t.exe executable code. Then when you put together the -o t.exe and then test.o and car.o are put together. So here we need to give another separate set of rules there. And then to make executable code for the main one, which is m.exe, you can continue to type make. So let's suppose I have no compilation done at all, a.exe, delete that. It's just the source code only. Something like this. Then to create, to produce the main executable code m.exe, what you do is just type make. Then m.exe is produced. So you can continue to work with a debugger, something like this. So go to the debugger and just continue to work with that. But in this case, that will not work because the original debugger configuration program to run is a.exe, so it has to be changed to m. So whenever I press the debugger start button, it will launch m.exe. So I need to update that one. Then go back to the main program and start. Then debugger works by simply changing the name. Now I want to use the same debug utility for a test program. Then it will not work because the configuration for debug is m.exe. So you may change name to t now. Then if I compile for t.exe, that will work. So here in this makefile, I want to create the executable code for t.exe. Then what you need to do is make and then type t.exe, the label, and then that one is produced. Then t.exe is produced. So test.cpp, set the breakpoint, and then start debug. Then now you can debug on test.cpp because launch.json I have changed that. So it may be inconvenient every time you switch back to main or test. You need to edit the JSON launch.json. Then you can configure more than one for the debugger. So let me extend the one. So here's add configuration. So before that, this is the name appearing on this window. So you may give some recognizable name like M. This is for M, main, original main executable code. And then if I choose add configuration, and that should be GDB launch, then another configuration is generated. Now this is for t.exe. Then program name, I need to edit like you do very first time. So as you scroll it down, the first one is here. So I have added another configuration. So just change it for t.exe. Then this part needs to be changed. The C min gw bin and then gdb.exe is the how we configure. Now we have two configuration by different names, and you can choose it from this drop down menu. Click that, you can choose to T or M like that. So now let me stop the debugger. If I want to debug a main function, choose M, which is configured for main.exe, m.exe, then launch that. Then main.cpp debugger mode is there. But if you want to debug a test.cpp, you need to switch to T, that is configured for t.exe, which is test.cpp program. As I start the debugger now, that's for test.cpp. So this is how to configure makefile as well as launch.json if you have more than one main function.